Hey, how's it going? I'm Greg, the creator of Superhero Coding, and welcome to Almost Crossy Road, Part 2. This is part of my one game a month series where I am building one simple but complete game a month in Unity and explaining what I do, explaining the thought process, everything. So it's a good tutorial for beginners, trying to show, you can get something finished in a few hours. Doesn't have to be hundreds and hundreds of hours or years or anything like that. These aren't super fancy, but they are simple and complete. So, like I said, this is Almost Crossy Road, number 2. You want to pick up episode 1, and you can get the source code and assets and all that kind of good stuff at superherocoding.com. If you go there and get details on that. But for now, we're just going to jump in. I'm going to get Unity pulled up. We're going to pick up where we left off. All right. Here we go. Oh, you know what? Let's go back here for a second. So this time I want to focus on the visuals a little bit. Now, I'm a programmer. So we're not going to get into fancy art. But and I've said from the beginning, this is a Crossy Road / Frogger type game. And of course, Crossy Road was based on Frogger. But they did a couple of really cool things. I mean, they've got rather than a top-down perspective, they made it an infinite runner, and which we built a lot of the basics of last session. The other thing that they did was a specific camera angle. And they used voxel graphics for all the characters. And I mean, everything in the game, really. Voxels, if you're not familiar with, are just lots of little squares, basically. But that enabled them to have a unique art style, to, flatten the characters out when they get run over by a car or on the side of a truck, stuff like that. It's a brilliant art decision by Hipster Whale, people that made Crossy Road. And we are not going to get into making everything look like that did and voxels and all that. Further on down the line, for people that get the source code, I might do some Blender tutorials that make the cars and trees and stuff. Or, I mean, the trees are 2 boxes, but I might do something with the cars and some of that. But I did take a bunch of screenshots as I was playing the game. To note some things about it and to bring those in and kind of get our game looking like the original Crossy Road, because I like the visual and the infinite runner aspect. Those are the pieces we're going to kind of try to bring in. So let me, on my local, I did take some screenshots. I am... Let's see, outside of taking screenshots and moving them here, I am not going to do anything else. I always want to do everything on camera, live stream, for the sake of teaching people. Because I hate videos, and I still watch a lot of videos on a lot of different things. I hate videos where people skip steps, or be like, oh yeah, and since last time I just blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I'm watching you to learn how, what. So I don't do that. I did take screenshots off camera. I think that's probably okay. All right, so let's switch over to the Greg in the corner view. There we go. Do have some simple screenshots. You're not familiar with Crossy Road. I would tell you. So let's look at this screenshot. You probably are. If you're not, you can check out some videos. You've got your score up here. This is how many steps forward you've taken. And it tracks that and puts a little thing in the middle of, when you're about to hit your goal. Everything is made out of little squares. It's very well done. Coins you collect along the way. That's an extra something that makes you risk sometimes going dangerous places to grab coins, and you can unlock characters and stuff with that. It's a brilliant monetization scheme. So you've got different characters. We get the little bulldog here. We got the squirrel here. You've got different lanes of traffic that are, you know, thin and thick. You've got water and logs, and this is a barrier. When you cross this barrier in the water, and probably in the rest of this too, you die. And let's see, you've got trains that come through, little thing lights up. I mean, where the game's at now is not where it launched, and I played it pretty close to launch. There's coin you can collect. But you know, I mean, it's a really well done game. It really, really, really is. They've got a ton of characters, some coins. They've got Disney, you know, branded stuff that they partnered with. There's a train coming through. It's really, really well done. So I'm going to take all of these screenshots. We're going to go over here into Unity, and I'm going to, so this is exactly where we left off last time. Our sample scene, which I'm going to hit F2 on Windows, or if you're on a Mac, you click it once and then you can rename it, and I'll call it Almost Crossy Road 01, and then I'm going to Control D on PC to duplicate. Should be Command D on the Mac, and then double click that and look up here to make sure I'm in Almost Crossy Road 2. Then I'm going to right click, create a folder, and I'm going to call this Screenshots. I'm going to right click, show in Explorer, and the Mac has a similar version. Grab all the screenshots, paste them, close that, let it import. All right, then we've got our screenshots. To get them into the game, because I want to at least match some aspects of it, we're going to want to create some UI stuff. So under game objects, we want to create UI. I could do panels. I'm just going to do image. Actually, I think raw image is the one that I want. New image, it needs to be a sprite, so I'm doing raw image instead, because I can just take one of these things and just drag it right in. So you might notice that this is square. The original screenshot is not. This is square. So let's talk about that for a second. So all these images import in the texture settings this non-power of 2. So power of 2 images. On mobile, if your images are non-power of 2, and the power of 2 are, you know, 2, 4, 16, you know, 32, 64, etc., 128, 256, 1024, 2048, and so it moves it to the nearest non-power of 2, which is 1024 wide by 2048 tall. But I want to see this image exactly like it originally was. So I'm going to change this to none, and then I'm going to hit apply. And so now this was 1.3 megs before. Now it's 7.4. It takes up a lot more space. Compressed is good, but it's not what we need. We also don't need MIP maps. MIP maps are just when things get further away. It has basically, it stores different versions of the texture in memory to for optimization purposes when things are further away. We don't need that either. That will save us a tiny bit of space usually. So we went from 7.4 to 5.5, and that's, if we wanted, we could use crunch compression and stuff like that. The reason that, and there's all the power of 2s, the reason you need power of 2 in mobile, if your image is not a power of 2 in mobile, like if I imported this 947 by 2048, I just took that screenshot off my phone. Oh, you probably can't see a lot of that. Move all that over. Got my faces down there. Let's do the this one. So yeah, all I changed this from to nearest. So if we have nearest and we have the mip maps on, we apply that. So this is 1.3, it's 1024 by 2048. But we don't want that. Basically, the reason that it does this, if your image is non-power of 2, then mobile has to have the power of 2 version in memory as well as your non-power 2. So it takes up double the amount of memory. So generally, it will convert to non-power of 2. Now I could still scale this out, everything, but A, we're not working on mobile, and B, this isn't going to be in the final game anyway, so it doesn't matter. So what we want to do is 1.3 megs is going to go up because we are going to turn that off so that it goes back to its original size, which is 7.4. And then we're going to turn off mip maps and apply that. And now we're at 5.5. Still kind of big. And then I'm actually just going to do that for all of these. I want all of them to be none, and I want mip maps to be off. I'm going to hit apply so that we can just drag these on, and it'll be fine. So when I turn off mip maps, it doesn't look as nice here, but that's fine because we're about to make it bigger. So if you want to match something one-to-one with an image, and we'll just take this 2408. See this 947 by 2048? What you can do, raw image, so I'm going to pull that in. And you can change the width to be 947 by 2048. And so now that is at the proper scale, proper aspect ratio. I can also do 94.7 to 204.8. But in this case, I'm just going to do that. 947, 2048. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to scale it down. Well, I want to center it. So I'm going to click this to change the transform, hold down Alt to set the position as well, and boom, done. Now I'm going to scale it here so that it basically matches up with my view, and we're good to go. So that's what the game looks like. It is thin on your phone. There's not much to it. Actually, looks a little thinner than I thought it should be, but I guess that's how the screenshots come out. So so we want to try to match something like this. Doesn't have to be exact. Exact would make a much longer video. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the color. So we've got an image. The color, if it's at full bright white, value of 100, all F's in hexadecimal, then the color is not influencing the image at all. If you do something else with it, then it will, which we don't need. So we want all the way up here, top left corner, so bright white. But we want to change this A, the alpha. That is the transparency. So we want something kind of like that. And basically, so we've got our sets of obstacles, right? So I'm going to pick one of these, and over here we're just way zoomed out so that we can see the UI. I'm going to pick one of these, hit F to focus or frame, and now we've got these little things. We've got our little sets of characters. So what we've got here, we've got lines. We've got like, here's some grass, here's a street, grass with trees, street, train tracks. So if we did something, and we know from before, I just hit play, our player moves at 1 unit at a time. So we've got, we're moving from -8.4 to -7.4, -7.6. We're watching this stuff up here. All right. So what we can do, we can make our squares 1 unit at a time. So let's turn all those off for a minute. I'm going to create an empty, which is kind of a way to organize things in Unity. And I'm going to set the position as 0, 0, 0. Call that obstacles, bring it up here, and just move all those in and turn that off. Because now I'm going to make some roads, or some little pieces that will sort of move like roads. So, let's see. So our character's moving here and the camera's moving too. You just can't tell because there's nothing there that actually shows it. You can't tell. I talked about that some in the last video. So that's part of why all this is brilliant. So let's make some roads. So if our character is moving 1 square at a time, we want to do something similar. Now we could do cubes. Cube, plane, or quad would be the obvious choice for what we want to do if we just want a flat space. Cube is probably okay. These are definitely, cubes. You've got a little bit of raised ground. So let's start with that. Let's start with, we've got a cube. And I'm gonna, over here, I'm just holding down Alt and left clicking to move around a little bit. I want to click this Y, and then I want to click it again to, it basically gives me an orthographic view, which is like straight up and down. So if I move up and down now, you're looking over here, there is no perspective whatsoever. If I click right in that square again, then we have some perspective. Now you can see, well, if there was better lighting, you can see the sides and the back, and now if I come over here, you can see this. So that goes away if I'm in orthographic mode. And you can set your camera in orthographic mode. We're not going to do that, but for now, because I do kind of want things to line up in rows like there are here, we're going to do that. So we can actually just kind of, move this and see that, okay, when our square moves there, so that's 1 unit, our player is a unit. This is good. And now I can either make this to be slightly less than a unit, probably what I'd want to do is make the player to be slightly less than a unit. And I might not have to do that. We'll figure that out later. For now, let's see, I'm going to zoom in on it, and let's see, we need a scale of Y. XYZ is RGB, and so this is dealing with the Y and the up, the green one, and I'm going to scale that to, I don't know, 0.2 or something like that. I'm going to click my floor and check that. It's got a Z of 55.2. Let's just set it at an even 50. Just make some more evener numbers, or evener. All right. I'm going to set this to that's probably okay for the height off the ground. It's nice to have things at kind of a 0, 0, 0 level. I might do that so that I can store things at level 0. I don't like the negative 11.4, but I was just putting it somewhere. It's fine. So we've got 2 floors. Yeah, we've got a floor at 0, and then we've got a floor at minus 0.4 in the Z. So if that's turned off, we've got our floor at 0, and that's the one that I guess our player character somehow still does not line up on. Okay. Our floor is, okay. Our floor is a cube. So, we'd have to be at minus 0.5 to be down, and then our character at 0 will be there, and at 0.5 will be sitting right on the surface. So instead, going to do that at 0. I'd rather have the player at a height of 1. I'd rather be able to set things at 0 or 0.5 or wherever I want to put them. So putting it at 0.5 here with a height of 0.2 gives me a little bit of an edge. I like the street there. It's good enough to start. I'll probably want more than that, but we'll start there. And then I'm just gonna give it a big width and hit play, and then if we go up, nothing's aligned, which is unsurprising. So that should be something like -5. Let's do something like 20. So if I turn off our canvas, screenshots, of course when I come out of play, that's not going to stay. Shots. Set that up so I can turn that off. All right, so it does actually line up perfectly. And we talked about putting our player at like 0.9, 0.9, 0.9, so that it's just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit smaller. And so that's probably good. I'll need to come back and do that in outside of play mode. About halfway through. So we've got a floor, and this can be the road. So looking at our screenshot, I mean, that could be kind of the basis of everything. It looks like you've kind of got these roads that are maybe like 2 wide or like 1.5. Could be not 12. Could be 2. That could be interesting. And then you're moving. So that's not really how the game goes. Maybe more like 1.5. Might have to play around with that some. Okay. For now, we're going to leave it at 1. I think once I get the camera and some of the other stuff lined up, it's gonna be in better shape. So let's do that soon. Not quite yet. Let's see here. So if I duplicate the road some and move it down, so in Unity, you can duplicate something, Control D, and then you can use addition, multiplication, all that stuff in the symbols, in the XYZ up here. Let's put that at 2. Duplicate that and put that at 4. Duplicate that, put that at 10. And then let's say maybe we come back here and we put some that are back here. Do another one that's at like 10 or 12, something like that. Just trying to get sort of a rough basis. Now I know right now the raised up parts are gray and the rest is green, kind of the opposite of what we've got there. Pretty easy to fix. If we come over here, go to our materials, we take our ground material. Instead, let's duplicate that, call that grass, and I will apply that now to all of these. And we will give it a lighter color like they did in the game. Sort of a happy greenish, yellowish-ish. It's actually kind of close. And they've got, you know, flat lighting and hard shadows and all that. There's probably good videos out there by actual graphic designers that kind of point out, you know, all the things they did right. And I'm just going to change this to road, and we're going to change this. Now, this is not going to be optimal because tell you why. So if I take this and I crank that all the way, the alpha all the way back up. Oh, I matched those just about spot on. So you wouldn't actually do this for the road because you need the little lines in between. I'm guessing the road would be like a prefab with lines at one end or something like that. But for now, it's okay. But the more things, you know, all the lines and everything help you sort of establish, oh, this is exactly what's happening at any given point. So I'm just going to make that a touch darker. Oh, had it almost exact. There we go. That's nice. All right. Let's try to match the camera angle. And so I'm really just kind of setting up, and I could make like sets of little lines, I guess, for the road. I could turn the obstacles. I could take some of these and turn those into little white line dividers. I don't know, that might be kind of overkill, but mess with that later. I want to kind of get the camera to match this a little better. So I want to let's turn that back down a little bit. And I want my player to kind of match the camera, the starting point. So I'm going to go back. Yeah, like that. So that's going to be kind of my chicken about to cross the road. And so camera's going to be up more. It's going to be, I think there are actual settings to kind of do an orthographic. I think, yeah, okay. I think that's actually what we want. So orthographic, again, it like takes all the perspective out of everything. So the perspective, you know, things get further away and stuff like that. Orthographic actually looks pretty right. And so instead of zooming in and zooming out, you change the size of the orthographic projection, and that is pretty dang close, actually. Ish. So I like that. But there's probably a proper way to match this up, and I'm just not the right guy for it. Sorry. But then yeah, it's not bad. And I you know, I'm not trying to match it up exactly. The interesting thing about orthographic, if I move it way back or way close, it's not going to change the way that all this stuff looks because it's orthographic. There's no distortion perspective. That's not terrible. There's probably a proper, yeah, I'm sure there is. All right, for now, we're gonna kind of run with that. That is not terrible. Not super exact, but not terrible. And I'm just rotating and I'm just kind of looking at the lines here versus what's in the game. It's not going to be exact. It's just not. And that's okay. So we're going to do something like that. If I turn off the screenshot and I play, that's kind of what we want. Now the camera in the game does move around a little bit, but it's not terrible. So if we stick with that, and so all these are kind of the grass. Actually, I kind of hate that decision already. That I probably should have set that so that was the road. Done it the other way. It's all right. Let's take one of these that has a bunch of pieces like that one. Let me floor, aka road. These are all grass. Let's see, what else can we learn by looking at the screenshot? Well, we have harsh shadows. So we have a directional light that we're going to want to rotate around. It's going to be, just going to freehand it. It's going to be more like that. Turn this back on. Yeah, everything kind of had a shadow, something like that. That's not terrible. So we're going to stick with that. And the directional light, like the orthographic thing, doesn't matter where in the scene it is because it covers everything. So that's fine. All right. Go over here for a second. Everything looking good. Stream looking good. Back here. Put my mug back on the screen. All right. Let's make some of these little trees. Yes. It gives it some flavor. So if we create, and it's just 2 cubes. Tree green. Move that to 0, 0, 0. Click it, F to focus. That's practically all it is. And then tree brown. It's just ever so slightly less than that, like 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, and then down just a hair. And then we can move the whole thing up a little bit. And I think that should all be a little bit more like that. Yeah, that's better. And then the Well, they are pretty short and squatty, aren't they? Okay, do that. So I'm going to pull this off. So whenever there's a child of a parent, anything you do to the parent will affect the child. So any modifications like doing that, didn't want it to affect the base. I think the base is fine. So now put it back on. Yes, the base is attached, then the base will scale and everything out with the other. Not what we want. All right. So let's duplicate that. Let's call that tree green. And then tree brown. And I know we want the green to be a little bit darker than the street. That tree brown be, oh, I don't know, here-ish. Yeah. Oh, not bad. Can't see it too much. So I'm just gonna move the whole thing up and then move the stem downward a little bit. That's better. Not perfect, but not bad. Not bad. And now having those will, even though you can see here they're not attached, doesn't matter. But having those will add a little bit of character. And so probably what we would do is we would have some different ones on some of the different pieces. We would want to make it so that they could not move through them. Let's see if we can move through it. Yeah, right now we can, because we're not taking anything into account. We're not taking any kind of obstacles or anything into account yet. I'm gonna guess what I'm looking for on my screenshot. I guess it's a character. I don't know. The size of the character versus the tree, it's not that different, so I'll probably just leave it. And let's see, but even having a little bit of a tree helps. It looks like he's hopping up on the ground, so we'll probably just duplicate some other trees, and then put them on some of these other ones. There. So, my goal again is not to exactly create Crossy Road. It is to help you understand how a simple game can be made in a few hours. That is the starting point of something else. And what we could do is I could put the same script that I use on these obstacles from earlier on these trees, and actually I would put it on I take the trees and I would attach the trees to the grass they are on. So which one is this? It's that one. Move that down and then take those two trees and make it a child of that. Take the next one, that down and that there, and that off, and then the next one, that down, these two onto there. All right. All right. So now we've got, and I can rename these to be grass with trees. So now, if we bring these in randomly, so as you're playing Crossy Road and you're going down, it's it's generating your map randomly as you go, and that makes it that keeps it interesting, and you can have different trees at different places, things like that. All right, getting close to wrapping this up. So we've got our little cars. I want to align them with the roads now. So again, I'm going to go click Y, and I'm going to go back into. Sure, we are still in orthographic. We are. Some obstacles are there. Let's see. Let's look at the first group. Actually, I'm going to pull them all out. All right. So here, these two and those two. If I do that, then they are all lined up more or less. Of course, I just threw everything on there with no... They're all pretty random. That's okay. Obstacles here. Those are some of the things further down. That's fine. Here, I'm going to move those to be maybe there. So we've got the 2 rows of the blue ones. And let's take a couple of these and move them down here. So now, if we start our game, you actually got something that's not terrible. I guess that would be more like a train. While not perfect, that actually, and you need some more randomness, and we could change the script so that, how far it went out or how long it waited before it reset. You could make it where, the script won't reset until, 10 seconds after it passes, things like that. But doing it this way, if you look at what's actually happening, it's this. This is what's actually happening. I am moving up and down a straight line. But camera angle, the orthographic perspective, and all that stuff makes it look like, the whole thing is, the world is coming to you. I can move around. So, yeah. I think that's probably a good place to stop for now. I think next time we will add in some scoring, where we will add in score. So in the original game, each forward movement you get points for, and every each forward movement you get points for, and you get of course if you hit something, then game over. So we'll probably run with something like that. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for now. So thanks for watching. Superherocoding.com, because bringing ideas to life is a superpower that you can learn. I'm Greg. I'm your host, creator of Superhero Coding. And thanks for watching. Catch you next time.